Okay, so I'm just going to finish this thought. I forgot to start recording. So we were talking about how to track your business, and you can go on YouTube and check out things like Teamzy, Streak. That's through Gmail, and Teamzy is $30 a month. Streak is free. And if you want to know one cool thing about how to, kind of use Streak and still be, get that, generating of who to contact like Teamzy does, think about the ABC method. So if you are in your Facebook, you just type AA, like in the search box, like say you're looking for somebody's name, type AA. And so probably you'll see people like Aaron, people that have double A. And then you go AB. And then you'll see, and it'll go like AB for their last name or their first name. And then you can do AC. And you'll, see these people that you never would have thought of otherwise. And so you can write that down in your tracker. Okay, I got through AC, I stopped at, this person. And that is a great way to just start those genuine, conversations. Go to their page, see what you can talk about, create a conversation, and get those out first. Those are like your hey girls or yo bros. And, get that out first because that's the scary part. And then go on to that other part that you enjoy. So, if there's something you like to do, for me, Facebook scrolling is kind of like a reward to myself after I get the stuff done. But raise your hand if you find yourself doing it before you got your other stuff done. And, you're like, oh, I spent so much time, on my computer today, but I didn't get anything done. Well, you were being busy and not productive. So, I challenged my team this week to, not be scrolling through Facebook. They're not allowed to look at their notifications until they go straight into their messenger and go to their messages and send those invites and things. And I showed them a way to, let me go to my homepage so you guys can see. If you weren't on last week's call or didn't watch the recording, it is called Newsfeed Eradicator. Let me get away all these messages so you can see this, and then I'm going to take it away to and so let's see, let me share my screen. So if you weren't on the call last week, and if you hopped on late, I wanted you guys to write in what Success Club points you are at, and don't be shy. If it's 0, write 0. Own it. It's fine. It's totally fine. But I also want you to write 3 names of people that you're going to invite tonight. So this is what my newsfeed looks like. It's called Newsfeed Eradicator, and you just download it. I literally can't scroll on my computer, so it's so nice. And then it has a little nice different motivational quote, and it changes all the time. So the difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will. So it has cool little motivational quotes, and you literally can't scroll. So that is my homework to you. Make sure you get that done. Go, and if you need to on your phone, there's a messenger app. So you don't have to even, go into social Facebook at all. So see that right there? I could just push that little messenger app and go straight into my messages. I can't see my news feed. I need you all to do that tomorrow morning. Do not click on the Facebook icon. Go into Messenger and send those invites and things that way. And I promise you, if you do that, you get in the habit of doing that every morning. So I do that before I even get out of bed in the morning. I will go to my messenger and I will send three messages. I'll send 3 hey girls. And I'm like, oh, look at me. I did something productive. Instead of what I used to do was scroll in bed before I, decided to get up. So that is my helpful tip to you. I want to go ahead and give it over to Ann. She's Central Time, and we got confused on the time, so I'm so glad. Thank you so much for being flexible. I got on the phone with Ann yesterday, and we were talking about a new certification she's going through, so she'll talk a little bit about that. It's through Eric Worre, and she's talking about limiting beliefs today, and she's actually going through, she did the training for herself, and then she loved it so much, she loved the message, she decided to go through and actually get certified so that she can also spread this message, to her team, but also keep herself accountable really for it. And she is, like I said earlier, she's just been a coach. Have you been a coach 7 years, Ann? Oh, wait, you're muted. Ann didn't send me her homework of I'm outing you. Let me see if I can unmute you, Ann. There you go. let me just give it over to you since I don't have that information, and just say a little bit more that I wanted to say. So for those of you just hopping on, this is Kelly Hanner is my coach, and then there's a coach in between, I believe. She's not active. I don't know if she's ever actually quit her. And then Anne. So Anne is kind of like my grandmother coach. And
I look like you.
only in genealogy.
Keep looking at the picture thinking, wow, I'm my mom. How did that happen?
So
it's fair this wasn't yesterday because I had my hair done, and now it's back to pull it up.
Oh, no. Don't worry.
No, I have been a coach. I know some of you. I've been a coach 11, let's see.
Oh my God, I'm so off.
Well, I know. I'm trying to think. No, not I know that you're off, but 2007. We launched in 2007, so I signed up at the end of 2006. So what is that? Almost 11 years, starting our 12th year in December. We've been just a real short about my story so that you know who I am. I was 36, had 3 really huge pregnancies, 3 healthy baby boys, but I had quite a bit of extra weight on me, and I gained over 70 pounds each time. I always usually lost it, but after the 3rd one, I got down a certain way and I started gaining it. My friends said, just get used to it. That's just what happens to your body. So I accepted that, and then Dave asked me to order Power 90 off of the internet, which now we don't think of anything of ordering anything off the internet. But then we had this ginormous computer, and I think it had like 12 gigabytes. I don't know, it's really lousy compared to today's standards. But I went online to order this program from a company called Beachbody. I told my husband it wouldn't work. I told him those photos on the website were fake. And then he pointed out that our minister at church, him and his wife had their pictures, their before and after pictures on the website. And my reasoning was, well, they have to have at least one real one. And so I was really skeptical. I ordered Power 90. We couldn't afford it. And that was when I was 36. So long time ago, 18 years ago. Wow, 18 years ago. Oh, no, 14 years ago. Okay. 14 years ago. So then I was afraid it was just going to go to waste. I decided I would try Power 90. I didn't think I could lose any weight. I didn't think I was going to get in shape. Never really had been an athlete at all, but I didn't want to waste it. And so after Christmas, we did the before and after pictures. I thought those were goofy too, but I did them. And then a couple of weeks, about 3 times a week, I did P90, and all of a sudden I had lost 2 inches off my waist. And I thought, that's interesting. Maybe there's something to this. And so I just kept doing it. And I had a 3-week period when the boys all had ear infections and pink eye, so I didn't do much exercising then. Just to tell you how well P90 worked then, it still works really, and I'm talking the old one, Power 90, not P90X. Anyway, by the end of the summer, about 120 days later, I had gone from a size 16 plus down to a size 6, and later that summer I was a size 4. April, I'd like to get back there, if you can help me with that. And and I was buying clothes off the junior rack. I don't even think I did that in high school. And so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast. I got rid of all my bigger clothes, said I'm not going to go back there. A few years later, they came out with Power P90X, and I said, oh, that looks too hard. I never had the only experience I had with weights was with Power 90. I never had done any kind of pull-ups at all. And a friend of mine had been in the test group, and I said, well, why? This for you, April. I said, why would a mom want to be in that kind of shape? Anyway, and my friend just says, well, why not? So again, we didn't have the money. We ordered P90X. Long story short, I took 1 bikini picture. I sent it in. I actually bought the bikini from a thrift store and sanitized it. And I can't believe I just admitted that in a bag sale. It was at a Christian thrift store. This is a little bit of my story I've never told. I shoved it in the bottom of the bag in a bag sale so none of the little ladies at the cash register would know I was buying a bikini. I went home, took the picture because my minister who had done P90X said do it. So I did it. I sent it in, didn't think anybody'd ever see it. And then it ended up on the infomercial for years. For years I was on that infomercial. And So anyway, that was that story. And then when coaching came about, I thought, well, I've been on the message board. Is anybody old enough that you were on the old message boards? Has anybody been around Beachbody that long? Nobody? They had message boards long before, Facebook wasn't even a thing. We had message boards on Beachbody. They're still there. And we supported each other, kind of like challenge groups, only we started a thread and we would just support each other. Some of my friends in Beachbody still are people that I met on those Beachbody message boards thread. Perry Tinsley, I don't know if anybody knows of Perry Tinsley. He was one of my buddies on the message boards. A lot of people. Mike Ryan, I met his wife on the message boards, and he became one of my 15-star coaches. So, and that's where I was. And I thought, well, I'm doing it anyway. Might as well be a coach. I don't think I can make any money, but why not try, right? And Dave and I had been in a lot of businesses for 16 years, network marketing businesses. And we gave up, said this isn't for us. We believed in it, but figured we'd never make any money. So when we started Beachbody, that was my mindset. My mindset was, hey, I'm already doing this. We love Beachbody. We don't like the name. I was always embarrassed about the name, but we know it works. If somebody wanted to lose weight, all I had to tell them was order Power 90 and do it. And I knew that they'd get in shape, And so I thought I could do this. And we started, and a year and a half later, we had more than doubled my husband's work income at Federal Express. He worked for FedEx as a courier, never got Christmas. If any of you work any kind of courier jobs, you know that Christmas is, you don't get that off. And he had had several injuries prior to us doing Beachbody. And about a year and a half in, when we had doubled his income, he injured his shoulder again, this time his good shoulder. And that would be his fourth shoulder surgery. And all of a sudden we realized, hey, this time we have a plan B. If it doesn't work out, we have a plan B. And so that's where we were. And that's where we've been. That's where we were 10 years ago. And when we retired Dave from his job, it was a little bit premature, but we didn't want to pick up the whole family and move somewhere so that he could do a desk job. He just simply didn't want to do that. And so we took a huge leap of faith and just built Beachbody. That's what we did. And now we use it to do a lot of other things, our income. But anyway, tonight, April and I were talking about limiting beliefs. There is no limit of information on the outer game. The outer game being what April was talking about. You guys have that down. That's why April is a master at teaching the outer game and the inner game too. She didn't do that in the beginning of the call. That's my job tonight. But the inner game, when we talk about personal development, and now I know because we're on video, none of you are going to roll your eyes, but I know when we talk about personal development, usually people are thinking, well, yeah, right, whatever, just teach me how to sell a challenge pack, right? Teach me how to lose a pound of fat. I don't need this whole personal development thing. I've heard about reading. I've heard about that. And I'm telling you, as a coach that's been around for 11 years, I didn't do personal development the first 2 years. By sheer hard work and determination and excitement, we built a pretty profitable business. And that was duplicating itself. At some point in time, we reached a plateau. We kind of hit a plateau. I don't know where anybody is. I know where Sherry is. I know Sherry more. But most of you, I don't know what your business looks like. And at some point in time, it could be a year from now, it could be 5 years from now, where you will reach some kind of a plateau and you're going to wonder, well, I'm doing everything that I've always done. Why is it not changing? And this may not make sense at all if you're a new coach. So I will tell you that when you reach that point, there's going to be something called a limiting belief. And does anybody know, and I guess you're on all muted. April, do you mute all the time? Everybody?
I do, just because of feedback and kiddos, and I usually have them unmute themselves when they want to talk.
Oh, great. Well, because I can talk, as April knows, I can talk all night long about a lot of things, and you probably don't want that. What I want is some participation. because I'd like to answer some of your questions, and I would like to get some feedback on what you think a limiting belief is. So somebody wants to share, what do you think a limiting belief is?
I just unmuted everyone, so just
oh, Barry.
Sorry, my kid's on here.
Feel free to mute yourself if you've got noise in the background, but I'm not at all bothered by it. So does anybody know what a limiting belief is? What's the definition of a limiting belief in your mind? And don't worry about being right or wrong.
I picked Greg's answer.
You picked me to answer. Well, my first limiting belief is how the hell does a guy on a team with all women build a business?
Well, Dennis is here too. Say hey, Dennis.
Yo, bro, what's up?
So what is the definition of a limiting belief? Start there.
I can answer. Go ahead, Greg.
Whoever said that, yes.
Limiting belief is just some kind of obstacle that we come up for ourselves to say why we can't do something.
Yeah, exactly right. Anybody else want to add to that?
I was going to say it's a negative core belief about yourself and others.
Yeah, exactly right. So put those two together. It's a negative belief that we have somewhere, and a lot of times where those negative beliefs come from.
Childhood.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can, very much.
Past experiences, past failures.
Past failures, a lot of times rooted in some experience that we had in childhood, and it might have been traumatic, it might not have been. It might just be a belief that your beliefs around money. A lot of those come from your childhood. If you ever heard phrases like, we can't afford that, or money doesn't grow on trees, or what do you think this is? You know, what, or do you live in a barn? You know, those kind of things, right? There's all these little phrases that come from our childhood. Any other, so Greg says the limiting belief, a guy can't build it in a group of women, right? Basically, he's joking. Any other limiting beliefs that you can think of? And if you don't want to say your own, you can just, you know.
Well, I know I hear from a lot of my coaches that they don't know enough people.
Okay, yeah, that's a common one. Don't know enough people.
You don't have sales experience. You're not good enough. You don't have enough followers. You know, things like that.
Nobody likes my posts.
Nobody liked my post either. I started.
Mine neither.
I'm writing these down.
They couldn't get rid of me.
I'm not bored. I'm writing.
What else? What other limiting beliefs? Michael, be quiet. Say something.
I think like fear of failing is a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one I find. And you know what? I don't find this one too much, but I hear other leaders talk about sometimes people they have a fear of actually being successful. Like it's kind of scary to them to be successful or to, you know, be making a substantial income. That is kind of scary to them too.
There's a negative criticism from others.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Comparison.
Perfectionism.
Yeah, comparison is a huge one. And on Facebook especially, comparison is so easy to fall into that trap.
I had to unfollow Bonnie Engel probably last year because I love her. I adore her, but I feel like it was just so much of it was I was like, why can't my life be like that? Why can't I? You know, and I was just like, just unfollow her, do your own thing. You know, so there's nothing wrong with unfollowing somebody that you find yourself constantly comparing yourself to.
Exactly. Okay, so let's go back to was it April? I was writing notes. April, you said the fear of being too successful. And I talked to I had 3 conversations this week. There's something called the threshold of deservingness. So if you're in that position where subconsciously you feel like you're sabotaging yourself, and there's a lot of stuff. So that we're just touching on stuff tonight. This threshold of deservingness, you can spend weeks on it. But if you just imagined, and I'm going to use a money example because usually that can kind of tell you where your threshold of deservingness is. If I was standing with you in a room or wherever, and I had $100 in my hands, and I said, hey, Sherry, here's $20. I just feel like I want to give you $20 today. I just want to give you this $20. No, I want to give you 60. No, in fact, I really just feel like I want to give you all $100 today. Here, just take, I don't have any, I just want you to have it. Now, I did this for 3 people this week, and the 3 people that we were talking about have a very low threshold of deservingness. And so even though there's no money in their hand, they closed their eyes, they imagined me giving it to them, and at $20, they were uncomfortable because they didn't feel like, why were they uncomfortable? Anybody have any idea? Because the idea was they had not done anything to deserve it. Okay, so, and we use money, and Sherry, I don't know how you felt. We won't put you on the spot. But that's a good way to figure out, kind of a way to start to figure out where your threshold might be. Now, if I feel uncomfortable taking a $20 bill from somebody that just wants to give me a $20 bill for no other reason, and I push it away, whether subconsciously or consciously push it away, then there's a sign that I do that in other areas of my life too. Let's talk about Beachbody coaching, for instance. And we're just going to use rank just because it's an easy visible, okay? Not because I put a lot of, I put worth as your, I don't put that as a worth of how you are as a person, right? So it's just a number. But you could also repel that. So if you don't feel like you deserve to be an Emerald coach, you don't feel like you deserve to sponsor 6 coaches or 8 coaches. When people, if you are working, if you're new and you're working and you're trying to build an income, say you're building this business for an income. And I know that there are people in here that want to just get the product for a discount. There's some that just want a little extra money. Some people want to make a lot of money, but there are a lot of people in our network who are making a substantial income who feel very uncomfortable because their threshold of deservingness, they don't feel like they deserve what they're making. And so they will repel any further efforts. Even if they want to go further with their business, they will continue to repel it. So that's, actually, if anybody wants to read about the threshold of deservingness, April, I can, I looked up and thought, who's that? Somebody just popped in, but it's April, she changed. I can actually download the module so that they can read that if they want to read that. Does that make sense? Does that make any?
Is that what you sent me, the module in the Facebook Messenger?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that one has the threshold of deservingness in it or not. I know that my threshold of deservingness has changed over time. And that was a very difficult thing for me to accept. If somebody's going to sign, why would they sign up with me? It's the same kind of thing. Well, why would they sign up with me? It's all the same kind of thing. And so in order for me to go any further with my business, I have to change my threshold. Another good example is your it's the same analogy, but it's your financial thermostat, where if your thermostat in your house is set at 70, then when it gets too warm, the thermostat brings the temperature of the house back down to 70. If it gets too hot or too cold, the thermostat brings your temperature up to 70, right? It's always that thermostat. It's the same thing. If you have a thermostat that's set at a $25,000 income, for instance, and you make $125,000, you will still, if you don't change that financial thermostat, then your income is always going to feel like it's the same. And you can change that. That's where the inner game makes a huge difference in changing that thermostat, whether it is what you deserve in life, whether it is your financial thermostat, whether it is your coaching thermostat, your weight. I'm working with a friend of mine who for 11 years. She's been a coach 11 years and still can't, has 125 pounds to lose. And we were talking about it, and she has this very low threshold. She could hardly even think about taking $20, right? I didn't do anything to deserve it. So anyway, does anybody have any comments? I'm just throwing out a lot of ideas at once, but I wanted to share that with April's because I had a lot of conversations on that threshold of deservingness this week.
I don't know if this is for anybody, but I tend to attract a lot of people that have either suffered or are currently suffering from low self-confidence. And I think one of the best things that really helped me, I don't know if anybody on this call knows, but I had eating disorders and all through college, and even when I was not doing it anymore afterwards, I still had, like, it was such a mental thing that I had to tell myself, no, I'm not going to do that. So even when I wasn't doing it, I was still focusing on reminding myself, like, you're worth more, things like that. So if you find yourself telling yourself this negative, whatever it is. So for me, mine was, I'm not good enough. That was what I was constantly telling myself. I feel like the best thing that you can do, and exactly that's where I was going with this, Terry, is like attracts like. And so whatever negative thing you're telling yourself, so for me, mine was, I'm not good enough. I turn that message into something like, you are enough. And that is the message I constantly try to put out for my viewers, but also for me. It's just as much for me as for other people. But that is where you really find your tribe, and that is how you really focus on being vulnerable. And even on days where you need it just as much as you're giving it to other people, I think it's so important to just be mindful of what your limiting belief is and turn that into a positive and share that with others.
Absolutely. That's really great, April. You guys have such an awesome leader. I just had April and I talked about a couple of other things. And if anybody else has comments, just raise your hand. Subconscious and conscious. So what April's talking about is what you project. The conscious mind, and this is brainy stuff. I always love the brainy stuff, but the conscious mind can only process up to about 15 bits of information at a time. Okay. So the subconscious mind is operating on tens of thousands of bits of information at a time, right? And so really what's running the show is your subconscious mind. And what April and I talked about, was it yesterday already, April? Is that if you do have these limiting beliefs, the first thing you have to do is figure out what they are. And then the second, there is a way for you to reprogram your mind, just like you reprogram your computer when you reboot the computer. We talked about yesterday how so many of us do a lot of personal development, and we keep shoving in the personal development, shoving it in and shoving it in, and we reach this point where we're, and I gave the analogy of a boat in the middle of a lake, where you're putting in this personal development, the wind is blowing against the sails, it moves a little bit, and then all of a sudden it doesn't move anymore. Well, it's because the anchor, your limiting beliefs, are still stuck somewhere at the bottom of the pond. And so no matter how much personal development you put in, then you reach this point where you're having a hard time moving forward. The good news is that can be cleared. You can clear out those limiting beliefs. There are steps to do that. And you can program new beliefs, create a new belief system. One of the things I shared at a retreat recently was five things that I share all the time. Was you have to know what you want emotionally, know what you don't want, feed what you want, starve what you don't want. And then the one that I always forgot during all my calls until I finally got it in my head was surrender the outcome. No matter what you do, you surrender the outcome. Don't get fixed to the outcome. And that applies to so many things, even what April was talking about in making those first contacts with people. Don't get attached to the outcome of that contact. Just do the contact, period. How many did you say, April?
I usually tell them to shoot for 5 at least a day, but shoot for 3 before you get out of bed, kind of thing.
Yeah, excellent. So do that. do whatever April tells you to do because she's very, very successful. And then surrender the outcome. Surrender the outcome. Same thing with your limiting beliefs. When you're working on limiting beliefs and trying to clear those out and create new pathways, surrender the outcome. Just do the, just know what you want, know what you don't want, feed what you want, and starve what you don't want, and then surrender the outcome. Sounds easy, doesn't it, April? Okay, 8:11. So you just tell me what else if there's any other questions.
So what would kind of be like an example of like what you don't want? I think sometimes it's hard for me to.
Peanut butter cookies.
I don't know who's singing. But,
I don't know. It's talking about peanut
for her husband.
Sounds good. I wouldn't mind one. That's why I'm not down That's why I'm not down yet. By the way, April, I was about to go do plyo before the call, so now you're going to have to jog me all night long to see if I get it done.
I'll just keep calling you until you say you're doing it.
Oh my word! It's the hour I don't get it done. So an example, what I don't want. So some of the things I didn't want in my life is how I reacted. One of the things that I work on continually is worrying and trying and regretting things I didn't do. And one of the phrases that I always keep in front of me is that regret, if you have something you regret in your life and you dwell on that, it's stealing the energy from today to try and change something that you have no power over changing. So it's like you're robbing yourself. When you are trying to change the past, you're just robbing yourself. And nobody would do that. You wouldn't go into your bank, right? You wouldn't rob yourself. But we do it all the time if we try and change something that we can't change. And so that's one of the things that I don't want. And so I work on clearing that. One of the things I don't want is how I react when I'm driving. And I have no power over what somebody else does, but why get frustrated, right? And so that's one of the things I don't want emotionally. I don't want to react that way. And so I try and clear that out. I try and starve that by not allowing that. And not, one of the things, if we were to go really deep into this, I'll just throw this out there. If you try and resist, you're actually feeding it. And an example of that, and I'll just talk about my previous occupation of going through the Starbucks drive-through. And this year I have beat that. If you need help beating anything like that, I knew I couldn't make a goal not to have a frou-frou coffee ever. So my goal was I could not go through the drive-through alone, because that's where it's the most dangerous for me, is to run through. So I always have to have a friend with me. And just a funny story, April. My son was with me one day, and I wanted to go through, and he says, "Mom, you tell me all the time I'm not your friend." I'm your mom. I'm not your friend. So I couldn't go through. Anyway, so just imagine that you're trying to not go through the fast food. And if you think about it all the way there, I'm not going to go through, I'm not going to go through, what do you do? I mean, you're resisting it so much that what happens? You go through, and then you double up the meal or something like that. And so instead, when I'm going past Starbucks, instead of saying, I'm not going to go, if I resist it, I feed what I want. Right? I'm feeding this emotion. So instead I say, you know what? I really want a vanilla latte, but I don't need it right now. I really just don't need it right now. So I take away the power of that, resisting that. Same thing just with anything, actually. So if you try and resist something, you're going to feed it. And so instead, look at it like it's an apple on the countertop. Oh, there it is. There it is. That's that, right? So anyway, did I answer your question, April?
Yeah. So then, I mean, and you'll probably do this one, we start getting on the phone and working through this, but so say they come up with their limiting belief. What's the best thing for them to do to get past it then?
Well, there are tons of different clearing techniques. I'm trying to think of one.
Okay,
The one,
Greg wrote his. He said, I can't relate to people. I don't have enough interest to be interesting. So
can't really. Okay, so I guess if I were working, I mean, we would probably spend a couple of calls on that and try and figure out why. I mean, why? Because I mean, it's hard to just say, well, here, do this, because you don't know where that's rooted. Where is that rooted?
Something you can also do is, what proof do you have and what proof don't you have?
Anna's looking who's talking.
Oh, sorry. That was Bonsai. Sorry. The cat was talking. No, that's the cat.
Great.
He could talk.
Repeat it, Terry. We are looking.
Okay, so I guess I should tell everybody that I am a cognitive behavior therapist. So one of the things that Greg can do is ask, what proof do I have and what proof don't I have? So you want to prove and disprove and come up with a more balanced thought.
Mm-hmm.
As far as because your emotion will change along with it, with those beliefs.
Right.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, Nancy, this would be a good one to touch on. Nancy says, I'm too old and it will be creepy to try and find friends on Facebook or Instagram.
Nancy.
Oh my gosh, Anne, you have to see the post that Nancy made.
Wrinkles, Nancy? I'm no spring chicken.
You know, and Nancy made an amazing post today. Was it from today or was that shared from last year? Was that that was today, right? The one Molly shared on our team page? Oh, it was last year. Okay. So I thought I had saw that before. But she made an awesome post. It was very heartfelt and real about, you know, fitting into a dress for her son's wedding, and that she tried to make one, and then she was worried that somebody would ask, oh, I have the same thing, you know, because she tried to make a dress out of curtains, and she did a really, really great job, and I love to see you guys doing more of that real and vulnerable stuff. If you're ever worried about not having things in common with people or not being able to engage or, you know, interact with people, that's the best thing that you can do. Yeah, I'll let you answer the rest of that. So let's see what she said.
I don't see the question, so just say it again. Nancy thinks she's too old. Is that it?
I'm too old and it would be creepy to try and find friends on Facebook or Instagram. And Sherry says, I'm going to be 51.
Okay, I'm 52. So there are, and Nancy, maybe you and I can just have a conversation later about similar mature. But that's just a limiting belief. It's just you're getting in your way. You're sabotaging yourself. We have people in their 60s and 70s building Beachbody businesses, and so if my thought is, if Facebook and Instagram feel creepy to you, take it out into the real world. I built my business face to face, pretty much, before Facebook was even a thing. And this business lends itself very well to that, because you can invite somebody over to sample your shake in your kitchen, or, you know, we're talking about people, you know, not down at Sam's Club. Hey, come on over. But that's a really good way, and especially for people my age or older. Anybody, actually, if you can talk to people. Facebook and Instagram are not the whole world. And we have a lot of people our age that are not on it, except to maybe see their grandchildren, right? So you're not too old. You're never too old to build this business, I don't think, especially since Shakeology. If we got that, the people that I have that are having the best results with Shakeology right now are my age and older. My dad is 80-something, drinks a shake every day because it was the only thing that normalized his blood sugar. And he almost passed out in the driveway before I could get him to try Shakeology. And he said, Annie, it's just so expensive. And I said, Dad, I never charged you. You know, it's free actually for you, but it's so expensive. Well, he tried it two days, and after the second day, his blood sugar had gone down, and drugs hadn't been able to do it for him. So we have a huge market, Nancy. you and I do, of friends and people we know in our age group that would absolutely benefit from having Shakeology. They're not going to do insanity, but they could do Shakeology and a walk around the block, right? So absolutely, never too old, never too old. We've got a great product for aging people, if you ask me, right, April?
Yeah.
Now, I would figure out too that your audience is not, my audience is not the 20-somethings. It's just not, unless they're my nieces or nephews. My audience, and actually, if you'll look on Instagram, I'm talking to quilters because that's my hobby and that's what I love to do. I can talk all day about it. And that's, I finally am changing my niche to where it is, I'm reaching out to quilters. I'm not trying to get everybody.
Mm-hmm. Also, side note about Nancy. Nancy last year was a monthly winner, so she won $1,000 for her 50-pound loss. And, yeah, and also went off her blood pressure medicine with doing it. So, I mean, I think that you don't share that story enough, Nancy, and you definitely need to do that because there's so many people that wish they didn't have to take a pill for things, and I think that that's a great way to connect with others that are your age and not just think, oh, I need to find younger people. Like, there are so many people, you know, your age that need it just as much as anybody.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm telling the same people over and over again because my you know, friend list is so small, and I just have struggle with trying to add to my, you know, to my friend list.
So do you talk to people at the store? I mean, where do you live, Nancy? Do you live in a city or?
No, I live out in the country. I work in a hospital, and I'm a nurse in a hospital, and I'm just very conscious about, you know, being professional and not trying to, you know, sell people anything or whatever. Not that I try and sell them, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
While I'm at work.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Dave was very careful about that too when he worked at FedEx. All holds were off once he retired, but he got to go back and talk to everybody. But when you're shopping, I mean, you're out some places, church, shopping, you are other places than work where there's people, and you don't need 1,000 people. You don't need to sponsor 1,000 people, right? You don't really. You need to sponsor a few people who sponsor a few people who sponsor a few people who sponsor a few people. And that's one person at a time. If you talk to one, you know, and sponsored one person a month, you know, that's a lot of people. So when you're out in the store, do you talk to people?
Probably not.
Does it make you nervous to talk to people in store? And I don't mean going up to them and saying, hey, looks like you could lose some weight. Let me tell you my story.
Yeah, it's probably more uncomfortable with, I'm not uncomfortable talking to people. It's just, how do I get around to, you know, what I do?
Oh, that's very good. Well, you start with just the conversation. You go into Walmart, right? And you surrender the outcome of the conversation. Number one, you just start building relationships. Just whatever April has taught you to do online, that's how you treat it when you're going through the store too. You're not, you know, what happens if you blast your product every day on Facebook and that's all you do? People quit following you, right?
Sure.
What happens if you go in a store and all you do is say, hey, I've got something that's going to help you, without figuring out, first of all, if they're looking for something. And so I started, and what I do is I just say hi to people. I'm just friendly in the store. And if we get into a conversation about something that's whatever, I don't know, I used to tell people the cat food aisle is a pretty good place to, people love talking about their pets. You can get in a pretty easy conversation there without, am I right? Anybody have a pet?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, what's your favorite litter? Oh, this one, because my little Fluffy. So you just get into conversations and really just surrender the outcome. Because what happens then is eventually they may ask you, or they may drop a hint in the conversation that, man, my ankles are so swollen. I am in so much pain. My ankles are so swollen. Well, do you know what's causing that? You know, those kind of conversations. It doesn't have to. I think the real fear for me when I first started talking to people in the store was that they were going to ask me, and I was not going to know what to say. And so when I went out and practiced talking to people, I didn't bring up my business. I didn't bring up my product. I barely told my story. I just went out to practice talking to people. Hey, I really like that purse. Where did you buy that? I'd find something I was actually interested in without being creepy, and have a conversation. Who does your hair, right? It's so easy to get into conversations. If you were to follow me around, my family used to, I'd say, after I started doing this for a while, because I used to be so nervous to talk to people I didn't know about anything. We'd stop at Walmart and I'd say, okay, I'm just gonna run in, I'll be 5 minutes. And they would start a timer because I had developed so many relationships throughout the store that people, you know, employees would see me, or people that shop there at the same time would see me. And we would pick up where we left off. Oh, I see your yellow car still parked in the, right? From those relationships, we ended up, one kid came to our Easter dinner. So you never know what's gonna happen. But just be friendly. And then we can get on the phone sometime, Nancy. I'd be glad to, and help you refine your story so that you know how to tell it in 2 or 3 sentences when somebody says, well, how did you lose the weight? When one of your classmates that you haven't seen for 20 years says, well, I hardly even recognized you. You know, what would you say to me if I saw you and you said, and I said, well, I hardly even recognize you, Nancy. It looks like you've lost some weight. What would you say?
I'd say I did.
Huh?
I'd say I did. Those are my classmates are the ones that, you know, that I have
Well,
gotten friendly with, and it's just finding other people that I don't know, you know, to start conversations with them.
Yeah, then I would do that. We call it playing with people. Just whenever you're out, just start a conversation and be friendly. And believe it or not, if you do that and you shop the same places and you go the same places, you'll start seeing the same people, and you'll be able to pick up each time. I mean, I was in Verizon one day, and I was just doing this, right? I was not after a contact or anything, and I just started talking to this guy. By the time we were done talking, by the time we'd both gotten to where we were up at the cash register, he told me that he told me his mortgage payment, his motorcycle payment, what day he paid him. He told me his insurance, his girlfriend, his job, where he worked, what shift. I mean, it was not a creepy conversation at all. It was just, he was just sharing his information with me. I could have very easily gotten a contact that day. But that just shows you, people, if you're genuine and friendly, most of the time people will appreciate that. People like a smile. People like it when people are friendly. That's what I have found out. And I can also go into a store, because I've researched this. I can go into a store and totally project that I don't want to talk to anybody, and nobody will look my way. And I can go into a store and people will think I work there because I'm so friendly. And that's the mindset. That's the inner game stuff. I've had people come up to me and, well, where do I find this? Just because I was friendly to another customer, right? Help people solve their problems in the store. Doesn't matter. Does that help, Nancy? I'm glad to get on the phone with you and hear your story, your whole story, and help you figure out 2 or 3 things that you could say, and then how to play with people so that it's comfortable. You don't need 1,000 people. You're not looking for 1,000 people. And if you've already talked to all your classmates, just keep keep up with them, and don't, just keep up with them, and they'll keep watching you. I had people after 7 years come to me and say, are you still doing that thing? What thing? Yeah, that whole thing, with exercise. And I'm still doing that because, people will watch you, and you're not looking for everybody. You're looking for the people who are looking for you.
Thank you.
I love that I actually wrote that in the chat earlier. I said, and make sure you tell them about the Walmart greeter that you brought home for Easter dinner. And I remember her, challenging me to walk up to people in the grocery store and, kind of just start having conversations. And that was, I remember like feeling like I was going to throw up when she was telling me this years ago. And so I've really tried to, like she said, you can put out that energy too. And people would rather somebody talk to them and be genuine than silence. I think that people in general, most people don't like silence. So just something, for example, I was in the grocery store yesterday, and there was, all the lines were so long, and it's so easy if you wanted to look back to somebody and say, oh my gosh, could they not just hire a couple more people, or something like that. That's not the conversations you want to have. You don't want to put out a negative vibe. So if you're waiting in line, people were frustrated, and I picked up this home and garden book because it was $10 and I get to look at the pictures before I get to the register. And so I was just talking to her about, I was like, oh my gosh, don't you wish so much that like your house could look like this? I love decorating. I think it's so fun. And we just started a conversation back and forth, and we were probably in line for like 5 minutes just talking about stuff. And, and even if that never comes to like, hey, here's my card, here's my business, it's just you getting out of your comfort zone and being a genuine person. And I think that helps to prepare you for having more conversations. And it's kind of like you just rip the Band-Aid. And when you do that, it gets so much easier, and it doesn't feel forced, and it doesn't feel awkward. And it starts to feel more awkward to sit in silence scrolling through your phone than being present and talking to the people around you. So,
yeah. And all those things happen online too. So if you're building all online, the relationship thing is the same thing. Same thing, same approach. I would just encourage you to have fun with it, everybody, not just if you're my age or older, but just have fun with it. There are literally people right in your line of reach when you're out and about who want to know and who have a need for what you have. And why not share it with them? But that starts with that relationship. And then, Nancy, that there are ways then, if you hear something in that person's voice or something in what they're telling you that says they are really looking right now, there's a way to get their information so you can contact them later about it, absolutely. But I would also, April, I would also share with everybody the memory jogger, because if you're contacting, if you're contacting the same people, there's a limiting belief that you don't know more people. And at our age, we know thousands. Really. And then with those, we know referrals from those, right? So they may not be interested. Maybe your classmates are not interested, but who do they know? Who are their kids? My goodness, with us, we've got people who have kids in college. We've got people who have Aprils, right? That we could share this with. It may not be them. It may not be your classmate. But what about their kids?
I love the saying, every dud knows a stud. So even if they're not somebody that's ready to do it, or even if they're not somebody that wants to work the business or whatever, they know people.
Yep. So there's a lot of things, Nancy, lots of things you can do. I'm glad you're here. There are lots of older coaches that just are not active, real visible on Facebook. And that's why you don't think that there are many. There are a lot. Our upline direct to the company is several years older than me, and she started our leg of the business. So absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to find the memory jogger. I'll find it later.
It's in the coach office somewhere.
Yeah. Looking around. So yeah, and basically what that is, it kind of is, it's a good, and I'll share that, it's basically like, who'd you go to school with, who'd you work with, who'd you go to church with, who cuts your hair, just trying to go through those people. And same thing for like your hey girls, yo bros to the beginning of the day. Like those are the people that you just need to, connect with. And just know that most people are not going to say, you stupid freak, leave me alone, stop messaging me. As long as, you're coming from a good place and you're just trying to start a genuine conversation. And if you're really struggling with, as a new coach and not having challengers, I really suggest digging into giving a lot of yourself for free, because you're not selling a challenge pack, but when you give, they want to come back to you and know, what are you doing again? Like, I would share my meal plans. I would share, and not like share the 21-day fix so they don't have to buy it, but like I created a meal plan and I would share that with them. I would, create, hey, track your meals for the week. Here's a free tracker I give to my clients. The more information and content you can share with people, they're going to build, you're going to build trust with them. And so if you have the time as a new coach to give more, as you get more clients and things, it's harder, but the more you can give without them having to invest, the more they're going to trust you and eventually come back anyways.
And for you dudes, follow the dudes that are they're building this business. There are lots of guys. I don't know if you've given them a list of people to reach out to. I know Mike Ryan would talk to you. Doug Fitzgerald is my coach. He's my sponsor. Tommy Migrant. Huh?
Who is the first person you said?
Michael Ryan. He's a coach that I sponsored. He's
okay.
Been what we found with the guys, April, is guys don't necessarily like to be in challenge groups. They don't want to be chatty. They just want to work out and build an income. And there's nothing wrong with that either. So Doug Fitzgerald and I worked hand in hand initially, and we really did present the business opportunity and the fitness opportunity kind of side by side. And we often led with the business opportunity because we were looking for people that were looking. So guys, Doug Fitzgerald is a good one. You can even reach out to him and say, hey, I'm in April McDonald's group, and he's kind of a busy dude right now, but I think he'll respond to you. Justin DeWeese, Ashley and Justin DeWeese, April. They're Shelly Himes' team, Justin DeWeese. He's got a great thing going on. Michael Ryan, Tommy Migrant, Perry Tinsley. I've got a lot of names I could give you that. There are lots of dudes out there. It's just a little bit different how they approach it.
Yeah, Greg's been following Jimmy Hayes Nilsson and Gary Vee, and he just got back from the Philadelphia Playbook with who was it? Dave Ward and Jimmy Hayes Nilsson and some people.
Yeah, Daniel Natoni and Julie. I can't remember what her last name is.
Was it something with a V?
Vor, yeah. Julie Vor. Vores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you like that approach, if you like different, then I would look up Doug Fitzgerald, Tommy Migrant, Michael Ryan, those guys. There's all kinds of ways to build this. Just think outside the box sometimes.
And
anything else?
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Ann before we wrap up? Okay. But yeah, I would love for you guys to actually do your homework and write out what you think your limiting beliefs are. And, really kind of dive down and try to think of it to yourself. Why do I think that? And then, kind of turn that into a positive. And I challenge you to make a post tomorrow turning that into a positive. Are you the kind of, for me, I might start with, are you the kind of girl that constantly tells yourself, oh, you'll never be, that, or you're not good enough, or, something like that? You can start with a question, get their interest, and then people that are like that, they're going to keep reading. And then you can, kind of turn that into a positive. I think that that's just a great way to think people in that like attract likes mindset.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Love this, Ann. That was so good. I'm excited to get on the phone with you next week and work on that. And I am going to share the link to Ann's team page in both Illuminate and what's my team name? Beautifully Made. I think I've got 2 hours last night.
Mine is Team Fit to Free.
Yeah, Fit to Free. Okay, so I'll share that link for you guys to add yourself there. So anytime you need any questions, you can always reach out to Ann. She's awesome. She's, and I really hope that I strive to, you know, be the way that you are, because I've always felt since day one that I could reach out to you no matter what, even though you weren't my coach, and you were always so giving of your time and energy, and I really appreciate that. So I hope that you guys pay that forward when you have grandbaby coaches, knowing that it's not my coaches. Your entire downline is your team. It doesn't matter if they go by a different team name. They are still your responsibility, because, you know, you can help them, they can help you. And she just does a really great job at that. So thank you, Ann, for always making me feel like I could always come to you for anything.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody can contact me. That's fine. I told April I always try and CC your sponsor if they're actively building, because keep everybody in the loop. But yeah, absolutely. I'd love to chat with you if you have questions, or if I dropped a name that you can't remember, or if you need some resources, I'll share that with April and you as well. So.
Well, I really thank you for being flexible, since you didn't think you were supposed to be talking till now. And I am going to check in with you to make sure you get your workout in. Just go do it. My workout was kind of lackluster today, but I just said I'm going to do it, and I don't care if I am dragging butt the whole time I did doing it. And I did drag butt the whole time, but it was done. So.
Good for you. It's hard for me to get down to the gym now at this time of night. Oh, okay, but I'll get one done. It might not be full. It might not be a full hour of plyo, but
then post a sweaty selfie.
Huh?
And then post a sweaty selfie.
We'll think about that.
So thanks
everybody.
No problem. And I will share the recording in your team page as well, Ann.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ann.